नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य दिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna everyone. So many thanks for everyone to join in, and let's start with Krishna book. This is chapter 87 and we would be ending chapter 87 today. I think I would be going a bit faster and we will start reading. So I'm starting the reading. If anyone wants to read in between, please say Hare Krishna and we jump in. So let's continue. Here is it. We are on chapter number 87. Continuing from where we left last time around. The personified Vedas thus worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different ways. Offering worship to the Supreme Lord by praying means remembering His transcendental qualities, pastime and activities. But the Lord's pastime and qualities are unlimited. It is impossible for us to remember the qualities of the Lord. Therefore, the personified Vedas worshipped to the best of their ability, and at the end they spoke as follows. Dear Lord, although Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of the highest planet, Brahmaloka, and King Indra, the predominating demigod of the heavenly planets, as well as the predominating deity of such planets such as the sun and the moon, are all very confidential directors of this material world. They have very little knowledge about you. Then what can ordinary human beings and mental speculators know of you? It is not possible for anyone to enumerate the unlimited transcendental qualities of your Lordship. No one, not even the mental speculators and the demigods in the higher planetary systems, is actually able to estimate the length and breadth of your form and characteristic. We think that even your Lordship does not have complete knowledge of your transcendental qualities. The reason is that you are unlimited. Although it is befitting to say that you do not know yourself, it is practical to understand that because you have unlimited qualities and energies, and because your knowledge is also unlimited, there is unlimited competition between your knowledge and your expansion of your energies. So what are Vedas saying? Vedas are saying that you do not know yourself. So Krishna's understanding is questioned? No. Actually, what happens? Suppose you are very rich, very rich, right? So if I ask you how much wealth do you have, so what would you say? You would say, I have this much stake in that company, I own this company, I have this let's say bungalow, I have this car, I have that. But even after enumerating hundreds of opulence, hundreds of wealth that you own, you would be left with, I forgot to mention that in my kitchen there are gold utensils. I forgot to mention that. Right? So there would be something or the other which would be, you would not be able to enumerate. That is what Vedas are saying. That your qualities are so rich that even you would not be able to enumerate, even you would not be able to tell about yourself. That is what Vedas are glorifying. So Vedas are saying that if we do not know, it's very simple, it's very easy for us to accept it. because even you would not be able to know yourself in complete. The idea is that because the God and his knowledge both are unlimited, as soon as the God is cognizant about his energies, he perceives that he still has more energy. That is what we just understood. In this way, both his energies and his knowledge increase, but because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to energy and no end to knowledge. No end to knowledge with which to understand the energy. God is undoubtedly omniscient. Omniscient means present everywhere. God is undoubtedly omniscient. But the personified Vedas say that even God himself does not know the full extent of his energy. This does not mean that God is not omniscient. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, this is called ignorance or lack of knowledge. This is not acceptable to God, however, because he knows himself perfectly. But still, as his energies and activities increase, he also increases his knowledge to understand them. Both are increasing unlimitedly and there is no end to it. In this sense, it can be said that God himself does not know the limit of his energy and qualities. How God is unlimited in his expansion of energy and activities can be roughly calculated by the sane and somber living entity. Have I shared the screen on this one? Google Meet? No. I'm really sorry. Chapter 7. That is what I was seeing. It was not showing that. So, how God is unlimited in his expansion and energies and activities can be roughly calculated by the sane and somber living entity. It is said in the Vedic literature that innumerable universes issue forth when Mahavishnu exhales in his yoga nidra, and that innumerable universes enter his body when he inhales. This is creation and destruction. We have to imagine that these universes, which according to the limited knowledge are expanded unlimitedly, are so great that the gross and subtle ingredients, the 5 elements of the cosmic manifestation, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, along with total material energies material energy and the false ego, are not only within the universe but cover the universe in 7 layers, each layer 10 times bigger than the previous one. In this way, each and every universe is very securely packed, and there are numberless universes. All these universes float within the innumerable pores of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. It is stated that just like the atoms and particles of dust are floating within the air along with the birds, and their number cannot be calculated, so innumerable universes are floating within the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. For this reason, the Vedas say that God is beyond the grasp of our knowledge. To understand the length and breadth of the God is beyond the jurisdiction of our mental speculation. Therefore, a person who is actually learned and sane cannot claim to be God, but tries to understand God, making distinction between spirit and matter. By such careful discrimination, one can clearly understand that the Supreme Soul is transcendental, and both the superior and the inferior energy, although to both the superior and the inferior energy, although he has a direct connection with both. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that although everything is resting in his energy, he is different or separate form of energy. designated as Prakriti and Purush respectively. The whole cosmic manifestation is the amalgamation of Prakriti and Purush. Nature is the ingredient cause and the living entity are effective cause. The two cause combine together and the effect of this cosmic manifestation, and the effect is this cosmic manifestation. When one is fortunate enough to come to the right conclusion about the cosmic manifestation and everything going on within it. Just a minute. Hare Krishna. Just a minute. I'm sorry. I did not see the message. You all mentioned that the screen is not getting shared. I'm sorry. I did not see it back then. Again, sorry. Yeah. Okay, when one is fortunate enough to come to the right conclusion about the cosmic manifestation and everything going on within it, he knows it to be caused directly and indirectly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. It is concluded in the Brahma Samhita. Therefore, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadar Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. After much deliberation and consideration, when one has attained the perfection of knowledge, one comes to the right conclusion. One comes to the conclusion that Krishna or God is the original cause of all causes. Instead of speculating about the measurement of God, whether He is so long or so wide, or falsely philosophizing, one should come to the conclusion of Brahma Samhita. Krishna or God is Sarva Karna Karanam, the cause of all causes. He is the perfection of knowledge. Thus the Veda Stuti, or the prayers offered by the personified Vedas to Garbhodakshai Vishnu, were first narrated in disciplic succession by Sanandana to his brother, all of whom were born to Brahma at the beginning of the universe. The four Kumaras were the first born sons of Brahma. Therefore, they are known as Purva Jata. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Parampara system or the disciplic succession begins with the Krishna himself. Similarly, here in the prayers of the personified Vedas, it is to be understood that the Parampara system begins with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayan Rishi. We should remember that the Veda Stuti is narrated by Kumara Sanandana, and the narration is repeated by Narayan Rishi in the Badrikashram. Narayan Rishi is the incarnation of Krishna for showing us the path of self-realization by undergoing severe austerity in this age. Lord Chaitanya demonstrated the path of pure devotional service by putting himself in the role of pure devotee. Similarly, in the past, Lord Narayan Rishi was the incarnation of Krishna who performed severe austerities in the Himalayan range. Sri Narada Muni was hearing from him. So, in the statement given by Narayan Rishi to Narad Muni, as narrated by Kumar Sanandana in the form of Veda Stuti, it is understood that God is one supreme and that all other are His servants. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is stated, Ekla Ishvara Krishna. Krishna is the only supreme God. Ara, Sabha, Bharya, Bhartya. All other are His servants. Yare, Yache, Nachaya, Se, Taiche, Karan, Nritya. The Supreme Lord, as He desires, is engaging all the living entities in different activities, and thus they exhibit their different talents and tendencies. The Veda Stuti is thus the origin regarding the relationship existing between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The highest platform of realization for the living entity is the attainment of the devotional life. One cannot be engaged in the devotional service or Krishna consciousness unless one is fully free from material contamination. Narayan Rishi informed Narad Muni that the essence of all Vedas and Vedic literature, namely the four Vedas, Upanishads and Puranas, and the Vedanta Sutra, is to render a transcendental loving service to the Lord. In this connection, Narayan Rishi has used the particular word rasa. In devotional service, the rasa is the medium or the basic principle for the exchange of dealings between Lord and the living entity. Rasa is also described in the Vedas, raso vaisa. The Supreme Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. All the living entities, all the Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, Vedas, Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra, teach the living entity how to attain the stage of rasa. In Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam also says that the statement of Mahapurana, Srimad Bhagavatam, consists of the essence of rasas of all Vedic literature. Nigama kalpa taror galitam phalam. The Bhagavatam is the essence of ripened fruit of the tree of the Vedic literature. We understand with the breathing of the Supreme Personality of God put forth the four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samveda and Atharvaveda, and also the histories like the Mahabharata and all the Puranas, which are considered to be the history of the world. The Vedic histories like the Puranas and the Mahabharatas are called the fifth Veda. The 28 verses of the Veda Stuti are to be considered the essence of Vedic knowledge. The four Kumaras and the other authorized sages know perfectly that the devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the essence of all Vedic literature, and they preach this on different planets. Traveling in the outer space, it is stated therein that such sages, including Narad Muni, hardly ever travel on land. They perpetually travel in space. Sages like Narada and the Kumara travel throughout the universe to educate the conditioned soul that their business in this world is not that of sense gratification but of reinstating themselves of the original position of the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in several places that the living entity are like the sparks of the fire, and the Supreme Personality of God, it is just like the fire itself. If the sparks somehow or other fall out of fire, they lose their natural illumination. Thus, it is ascertained that the living entities come into the material world exactly as the sparks fall from a great fire. The living entity wants to imitate Krishna. Krishna and tries to lord it over material nature, and in order to enjoy sense gratification, thus he forgets his original position, and his illuminating power, his spiritual identity is extinguished. However, if a living entity takes to Krishna consciousness, we can forget, however. If a living entity takes to Krishna consciousness, he is instated to his original position to preach this process of devotional service. Sages and saints like Narada and Kumaras travel all over the universe, educating the people and increasing their disciples. Their aim is that all the conditioned soul may be educated to revive their original consciousness or Krishna consciousness and thus gain relief from the miserable condition of material life. So Narada Muni is called Nastika Brahmachari. There are four types of Brahmachari. The first is called Savitra, which refers to Brahmachari who after initiation and the sacred thread ceremony must observe at least 3 days of celibacy. The next is called Prajapatya, which refers to brahmachari who strictly observes celibacy for at least 1 year after initiation. The next is called brahmachari, which refers to brahmachari who observes celibacy from the time of initiation up to the time of completion of his study of the Vedic literature. The next stage is called Nashtika, which refers to the brahmachari who celibate throughout his whole life. Out of these, the first three are Upakurvana, which means that the brahmachari can marry later and that the brahmachari after the brahmachari period is over. The Nastika brahmachari, however, is completely reluctant to have any sex life. Therefore, the Kumaras and the Narada are known as Nastika brahmachari. Such brahmachari are called Veeravrata because their vow of celibacy is as heroic as the vow of Kshatriya. The brahmachari system of life is especially advantageous in that it increases the power of memory and determination. It is specifically mentioned in connection that because Narada was a Nastika brahmachari, he could remember whatever he learned from his spiritual master and would never forget. One who can remember everything perpetually is called Stutidhara. A Stutidhara brahmachari can repeat verbatim all that he has heard without notes and without a reference to books. The great sage Narada has this qualification, and therefore, having taken instruction from Narayan Rishi, he is engaged in propagating the philosophies of the devotional service all over the world. Because such great sages can remember everything, they are thoughtful, self-realized and completely fixed in the service of the Lord. Thus the great sage Narada, after hearing the spiritual master Narayan Rishi, became completely realized. He became established in the truth and became so happy that he offered prayers to Narayan Rishi. Narad Muni addressed Narayan Rishi as the incarnation of Krishna and specifically addressed him as the supreme well-wisher of the conditioned soul. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna descends in every millennium just to give protection to his devotees and annihilate the non-devotees. Narayan Rishi, being an incarnation of Krishna, is also addressed as the well-wisher of the conditioned soul. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, everyone should know that there is no well-wisher like Krishna. Everyone should understand Lord Krishna is the supreme well-wisher of everyone and should take shelter of him. In this way, one can become completely confident and satisfied knowing that he has someone who is able to give him all protection. Krishna himself, his incarnation and his planetary expansions are all supreme well-wisher of the conditioned soul. But Krishna is the well-wisher even of the demons. This we have seen in Bhagavatam class. Although Krishna appears to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principle of dharma, but there is one thing which we need to understand. Krishna is merciful even to non-devotees. So Krishna is well-wisher of even the demons. Just a minute. Again, my eyes are coming off now. Just give me 1 or 2 minutes. Let me see how much we have to read. Okay, we would complete this chapter. Don't worry. We would complete this chapter. For he gave salvation to all demons who came to him in Vrindavan. Therefore, Krishna's welfare activities are absolute for whether He annihilates a demon or gives protection. Gives protection to a devotee. The result of his activities is one and the same. It is said that the demon Putana was elevated to the same position as Krishna's mother. When Krishna kills a demon, the demon is supremely benefited as much as pure devotee is benefited after being protected by the Lord. Narayan Muni, after offering respects to Narayan Rishi, Narad Muni, after offering respects to Narayan Rishi, his spiritual master. Look how things are. And Narayan Rishi is guru of Narad Muni. And Narad Muni is guru of whom? Ved Vyas. Again Krishna. So Krishna is guru of Narada Muni. And Krishna himself took a lower position and accepted Narada Muni as his guru and asked questions. And thereafter Narada Muni guides Krishna that you must write something which is transcendental, which has transcendental taste. Now there are 4 sects of Vaishnava disciplic succession. Now, whichsoever be the disciplic succession, if anyone follows it in right manner, they are sure to be liberated from the pranks of material misery. Okay, so let's continue. In this way, Sukadev Goswami informed Maharaj Parikshit of the answers to his question regarding the essence of Vedic knowledge and what is considered to be ultimate goal of the Vedas. The supreme goal of life is to achieve the transcendental blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become engaged in the loving service of the Lord. One should follow the footsteps of Sukadev Goswami and all other Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession and should pay respectful obeisances unto the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. The 4 sects of Vaishnava disciplic succession, namely the Madhva Sampradaya, the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Vishnu Sampradaya, and the Nimbarka Sampradaya. In pursuance of all Vedic conclusion, agree that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic literatures are divided into 2 parts, the Shruti and the Smriti. The Shrutis are of 4 Vedas, Rig Ved, Samved, Atharved, Yajurved, and the Upanishad. The Smritis are the Purana and the Itihas like the Mahabharata. Which includes Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of all these is that one should know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Param Purusha or the Supreme Personality of Godhead under whose superintendence material nature for creation, maintenance and annihilation. The Supreme Lord incarnates into 3, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, after manifesting the material cosmos. All of these take charge of 3 qualities of material nature, but ultimate decision is in the hands of Lord Vishnu. The complete activities of material nature under the 3 modes are conducted under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Madhya Adhyakshena, Maya Adhyakshena, and the Vedic and the Vedas, Sa Aikshata. The ascetic Sankhyaite philosophers will of course offer their arguments that the material cosmic manifestation is due to Prakriti and Purusha, material nature and the living entity, or the material cause and the effect, or the material cause and the effective cause. But Krishna is the cause of all causes, and he is cause of both the material and the effective causes. Prakriti and Purusha are not the ultimate cause. Krishna. Superficially, it appears that a child is born due to the combination of his father and mother, but ultimate cause of both the father and mother is Krishna. Therefore, the original cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity enter into the material nature. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, by one of his plenary expansion, manifest as Karnodakshai Vishnu, Mahavishnu. Yes, Karnodakshai Vishnu is also called as Mahavishnu. The gigantic form of Vishnu lying in the causal ocean. Then from that gigantic form of Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands and enters into every universe. From him, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva expands. Vishnu as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu enters into the heart of all living entities and as well as into the material elements, including the atom. The Brahma Samhita says the Lord is within the universe and also within every atom. Yes. The living entity has a small material body. Things are going. Just a minute. The living entity has a small material body taken in various species and forms, and similarly the whole universe is but the material body of the Supreme Personality of God. The body is described in the Shastra as Virat Rupa. As the individual living entity in the whole cosmic creation entering within it. As soon as the individual living entity leaves the material body, the body is immediately annihilated, and similarly, as soon as Lord Vishnu leaves the cosmic manifestation, everything is annihilated. Therefore, only when the individual living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is liberation from material existence possible. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else is therefore the cause of all liberation. How the living entity becomes liberated from the modes of material nature after surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is illustrated by the example of a sleeping man within a room. When a man is sleeping, everyone sees that he is present within the room, but actually the man himself is not within that room. For while sleeping, the man forgets his bodily existence, although others may see that this body is present. Similarly, a liberated person engaged in devotional service of the Lord may be seen by others to be engaged in the household duties of the material world, but since the consciousness is fixed in Krishna. He does not live within this world. This is what we were discussing last class in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we need to have our spiritual identity in place, to think spiritually, to do work spiritually. That is what we need to do. Yeah. Again reading. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee engaged full time in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has apparently surpassed the influence of three modes of material nature. And is the transcendental realm, although he appears to be living within the body and within the material world. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami states in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the person whose only desire is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be situated in any condition in the material world, but he is to be understood as Jivan Mukta. This is to say that he is to be considered liberated while living within the body of a material world. The conclusion therefore is that the person fully liberated person such as with the material body or the material world, those who are in Krishna consciousness are called, those who are not in Krishna consciousness are called karmis and jnanis, and they hover over the bodily and mental platforms and thus are not liberated. This situation is called Kavalya Nirasata Yoni. But a person situated in the transcendental platform is freed from the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4 chapters. Simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna once becomes free from the chain of repetition of birth and death, and after quitting his present body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the conclusion of all Vedas.